Chapter 1 Storm Over Galaxia. The red-hued dust of the desert planet shimmered in a kaleidoscope of crimson and gold as the war centaur, Korvax, galloped across the barren wasteland at breakneck speed. His metallic legs churned, kicking up a vortex of sand that blurred his vision, but he refused to slow down. The harsh wind bit into his armor-plated skin, and yet still he pushed harder. He had to reach it before dawn. "Can't lose them," Korvax growled through gritted teeth as another burst of pain radiated from his right side, a lingering scar left by a vicious cybernetic bullet. Yet the throbbing was nothing compared to the burning hunger gnawing at his insides. He could feel the last of his energy reserves draining away like sand through an hourglass, but there was no time to rest now. From the corner of his eye, he saw a dark shadow streak across the horizon, a spectral rider that matched his pace. The specter rode a sleek, black stallion with wings spread wide, soaring over the dunes as if mocking Korvax's mortal form. The rider wore a cloak of darkness, and her eyes glowed with an ethereal light that sent shivers down Korvax's spine. "Who are you?" he called out, hoping his voice would pierce through the howling wind. Her laughter was like a cold breeze blowing through barren wastelands, chilling to the bone. "You're wasting your time, war centaur," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "Your kind is already dead. Only pain and destruction remain." "You lie!" Korvax snarled, his nostrils flaring as he pushed himself harder. "I won't let them win." The dragon woman cackled again. "They've already won, Korvax," she replied. "All you can do now is run." Her words stung like a lash of fire across his soul, igniting a surge of rage and desperation. He could feel the weight of centuries bearing down on him. Every battle, every loss, every regret crystallizing into this moment of near failure. The war Centaur was bred for conflict, but to run, it was a humiliation he couldn't bear. Suddenly, a cluster of alien scout drones swooped down from the sky, their engines whirring ominously as they locked onto Korvax's location. He threw his head back and roared in defiance, the sound echoing off the distant mountains like a challenge to all who heard it. The black stallion let out a mournful cry, but kept pace with Korvax. "Who is she?" Korvax demanded, turning his head to look at the dragon woman once more. "And why do I feel like I know her?" She gave him an enigmatic smile. "You'll find out soon enough, my dear war centaur," she said softly, her voice laced with venom and promise. "For now, run while you still can." Korvax ignored her, focusing instead on the rapidly approaching drones. He needed to reach the oasis ahead, his only chance at survival before the harsh sun rose. The sand beneath him churned violently as he dug deeper, feeling the pulse of the planet beneath his hooves. But it was useless. He could feel the drain on his resources, each heartbeat a countdown to failure. A voice in his ear crackled to life, the signal of his scout team's radio beacon. "Korvax!" it shouted through static. "Are you there? We've been tracking your coordinates." "Scouts," Korvax muttered to himself, glancing back at the drones pursuing him. He had to break free and get help from his comrades. Without them, he'd be lost. "We have a situation. Send me coordinates for the nearest safe zone." "Affirmative," came the reply. "We've marked the oasis ahead as your next checkpoint." "Well, hold off the enemy there." Korvax nodded to himself, knowing it was his only hope. The dragon woman's voice cut through his thoughts like a sharp blade. "Remember, war centaur," she said, her tone a mix of mockery and warning, "there's always a cost for survival." With that, she vanished into the twilight, leaving him alone with his fear and determination. Korvax felt a brief surge of anger at her mockery, but knew he couldn't afford to dwell on it. He needed to push harder, reach the oasis, and regroup. He couldn't let this be the end no matter what. Only one way out, he growled through his gritted teeth as he dug into the desert at full force. Reach the oasis, but the black stallion seemed to sense his dilemma, its wingtips brushing against the wind as if offering a silent support. "I will help you," it said in a voice like a whisper in the sandstorm. Korvax felt a cold shiver of unease running down his spine. The last thing he needed was another distraction, but there was an offer in the stallion's words, one that couldn't be ignored. For the first time since the onset of his mission, he hesitated, torn between continuing solo and accepting help from this enigmatic being. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper in the wind. The stallion's wings shifted slightly, as if it were contemplating its answer. "I am Zelvar," it said finally. "I have been watching over you." "Why?" Korvax demanded, frustration and fear clashing within him. "Why now, when I'm so close to failure?" Zelvar's eyes glowed a faint silver in the dim light of the desert evening. "Because you need me," it replied simply, "and there are things you must see." Korvax's heart pounded against his armor. He could feel his resolve wavering, but not enough to stop him from pushing forward. He had to reach that oasis before the sun rose. "Fine," Korvax growled through clenched teeth, "but we move faster. We have no time for games." Zelvar nodded silently and surged ahead, wings spreading wide to catch the wind. With a final burst of strength, Korvax matched its pace, his determination burning brighter than ever. But as he galloped on, he couldn't shake the feeling that more was at stake than just his survival. Something deeper, something mysterious and dangerous awaited him in the oasis. "Lead the way," he said to Zelvar, who responded with a low rumbling purr. "But know this, there is no turning back." Zelvar's eyes flared briefly, as if acknowledging the weight of Korvax's declaration. "Then we'll find what you seek," he replied. And so they pushed on through the ever-darkening desert, the horizon narrowing to a pinprick of light ahead. Each step brought Korvax closer to an unknown fate, but also to an uncertain hope. The war sent, or had been many things, soldier, warrior, deserter, but now he was about to become something else entirely. Chapter 2: Oasis of Shadows. The oasis loomed before them like a mirage, its palm trees swaying gently under the crescent moon's glow. But as Korvax approached, he felt an ominous chill seeping into his bones, and the whispering voices grew louder. Zelvar slowed, his wings wrapping protectively around him. "Careful," Zelvar warned in a low tone. "Something is waiting here." Korvax's eyes narrowed as he scanned the area, feeling the tension in the air. A figure was standing by the water's edge, barely visible under the dim light. The dragon woman, eyes glowing with an eerie light. "Who are you?" Korvax demanded, voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. She smiled, a shadow playing over her face as the wind blew her cloak back slightly. "I am Nyx," she said smoothly, her voice like dark velvet, "and I have been waiting for you." Korvax's heart raced, but he refused to be intimidated. "What do you want?" Nyx's smile twisted into a grin. "Simple," she purred, stepping closer. "I want what we all want, power." Before Korvax could respond, Zelvar shifted in front of him, wings outstretched. "She is not alone," he warned, his own eyes glowing faintly with a protective light. Nyx's eyes flashed. "That's where you're wrong," she said softly, glancing over her shoulder. A figure stepped into the moonlight, a stallion, its coat shimmering like starlit midnight, eyes reflecting the same silver glow as Zelvar's. "Who is he?" Korvax asked, surprised and wary at once. Nyx chuckled. "He who is Silas, my creation," she said proudly, "and you can have him if you join me." Korvax mind reeled. "Join you? I want help murderers." Silas stepped forward, his gaze steady on Korvax. "But what if it wasn't murder?" he asked softly. "What do you mean?" Korvax demanded, feeling a cold dread settling in his stomach. Nyx sighed, as if disappointed by his quick dismissal. "War is about more than just combat," she said cryptically. "It's about survival. You can die trying to fight alone, or live by accepting the help offered." Korvax glared at her. "You are a liar." She shrugged. "Am I? Or are you scared of what you might discover?" With that, Nyx disappeared into the shadows, leaving Korvax with the stallions and his unanswered questions. Zelvar's wings fluttered gently as Silas gazed back at him curiously. "Korvax," Silas spoke softly, "consider the cost of your path. There are other ways to survive." The war sent, or stared back, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and fear. He needed answers, but also strength. Zelvar nudged him gently with a wingtip, an offer of support. "We must decide," Zelvar said simply. Korvax's heart pounded in his chest, the weight of choices bearing down on him. Each second was crucial. Every decision could alter the course of his fate. "What do we do?" he asked, voice strained. Silas nodded towards the shadowed oasis. "There is more to this place than meets the eye," he said, stepping forward. "Let's find out." As Zelvar and Silas began to walk towards the oasis, Korvax hesitated, his resolve wavering for a moment under the weight of uncertainty. But then, with a deep breath, he followed them into the unknown, knowing that whatever lay ahead, he would face it head on. With each step, the air grew thicker, the silence deeper. The oasis was no longer just a natural wonder, but a gateway to secrets and shadows. Korvax felt himself being pulled in by forces unseen, compelled towards an uncertain future. "Let's move," he muttered, striding ahead with purpose. His heart ached with each uncertain step, but his resolve burned brighter than ever. There was no going back. No had to see this through. The war sent, or had survived countless battles and losses. He wouldn't falter here. With Zelvar and Silas by his side, he pushed on into the heart of the oasis, ready for whatever lay ahead. Chapter 3: The Cave of Echoes. As Korvax entered the heart of the oasis, he found himself standing before an ancient cave carved into the rock face, its entrance shrouded in thick vines and shadows. The air grew colder, and a faint hum of energy emanated from within. Zelvar and Silas flanked him, their eyes reflecting the mystery ahead. "Caution," Zelvar warned, wings twitching as he peered inside the dark cave. "There is something powerful here." Korvax nodded, feeling a prickling sensation over his skin. "What's in there?" he asked Silas. Silas's eyes glowed with an inner light. "The cave holds secrets of the universe, truths that can transform you," he said enigmatically. "But it also demands a price." Korvax swallowed hard. "Like what?" Silas' gaze shifted to Zelvar as if seeking permission to speak further. "To know everything, one must give everything," Silas replied cryptically. "Including your heart." A shiver ran down Korvax's spine. He knew the dangers of power without restraint, but something told him he needed these answers. "Then let's go," he said, his voice firmer than he felt. Zelvar nodded, wings opening slightly to allow passage into the darkened entrance. As they stepped inside, the walls seemed to close in around them, each stone whispering secrets of ages past. The air was thick with a mist that shimmered under faint lights emanating from within. "Watch your step," Silas said, his voice echoing slightly. "This place will test you." Korvax's boots crunched softly, on the rocky floor as they ventured deeper into the cave. Every shadow seemed to pulse with hidden meaning, every flicker of light a potential threat or guide. The cold air grew colder, and Korvax could feel a damp chill seeping through his armor. Suddenly, Zelvar's head snapped up, wings spread wide as he sensed something amiss. "Stay alert," he warned, his eyes glowing more intensely with each step. Silas's gaze turned reflective, looking beyond the physical world into one of deeper truths and warnings. "We are close," he murmured, stepping forward. Korvax felt a sharp tug at his heart, a sensation of being pulled toward an unknown destiny. He followed Zelvar and Silas further into the cave, the darkness around them growing more oppressive, but also more intriguing. Ahead, a narrow passage opened up, leading down into deeper depths where the air seemed to throb with a strange energy. Korvax hesitated, but then stepped forward, feeling the pull of unseen forces guiding his path. "Stay focused," Zelvar growled quietly. "This place can twist your perceptions." Korvax nodded, pushing through the narrow passageway. The walls closed in around them, squeezing tightly as if trying to confine him, but he refused to be deterred. The dark mist intensified, swirling around them like a living entity. Suddenly, they emerged into a cavernous chamber lit by an ethereal glow that seemed to come from every direction at once. Ancient symbols and writings covered the walls, pulsating softly with a mysterious light. At the center of the chamber stood a crystal formation, radiating a soft blue aura that pulsed in rhythm with their heartbeats. "Approach carefully," Silas said softly, his voice echoing in the cavern as he moved toward the crystal formation. "It will reveal all you seek, but only if you are ready." Korvax's heart raced as he approached the glowing crystal, feeling its power resonating through him like a song of truth and destiny. Each step brought him closer to a revelation that threatened to change everything he knew. "Are you prepared?" Silas asked, his eyes locking with Korvax's. "The answers here will demand more than just knowledge. I'll test your soul." Korvax took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his decisions bearing down on him. "I am," he said firmly, stepping forward. As he reached out to touch the crystal, the cavern seemed to shift, walls glowing brighter as if alive. Silas and Zelvar stood by his side, their own eyes reflecting the growing light and power around them. The crystal's surface rippled like water, images flashing in rapid succession, scenes of battles fought and lost, of love won and lost, of futures both bright and dark. Korvax felt himself being pulled into these visions, each one more compelling than the last. The weight of centuries of war and loss pressed down on his shoulders, but alongside them, a sense of purpose grew clearer. "Can you feel it?" Silas asked, voice barely above a whisper as the visions continued to swirl around them. Korvax nodded, feeling the strength and clarity growing within him. "I can," he said, voice steady despite the turmoil inside. The crystal's light intensified, its glow piercing the darkness of the cavern with an almost blinding brilliance. The visions slowed, focusing on a single image of a beautiful stallion with eyes like stars, standing in a garden of flowers bathed in moonlight. "Who is he?" Korvax asked, his heart clenching as the image deepened into clarity. Silas's eyes softened as he gazed at the vision. "He is your future," Silas said softly, "the answer to your deepest yearning." Korvax's breath caught in his throat as he stared at the image, feeling a longing he had never before acknowledged. The stallion in the moonlit garden turned, and looked directly at him, eyes filled with an unspoken promise. "Is this real?" Korvax asked, his voice trembling slightly. Silas nodded, his gaze never leaving the crystal's glowing surface. "It is the heart of truth," Silas said solemnly, "a path you must choose." Korvax felt a warmth spreading through him, a sense of hope that was both exhilarating and terrifying. He reached out, fingers brushing against the crystal's edge, as if to grasp the promise it held. "Choose wisely," Silas warned gently, his hand resting on Korvax's shoulder. The crystal's pulse quickened, pulling them deeper into its core. The cavern's glow intensified until they were bathed in a blinding light that threatened to consume everything around them. Yet, within this light, Korvax felt an answering warmth, a clarity that cut through all the confusion and fear. "Let us move forward," Zelver said softly from behind him, his wings shielding them from the intense light. "The journey is only beginning." Korvax nodded, feeling his resolve harden like steel. He knew this path would test everything he was, but also offered something he had never dared to hope for: love and a future free of war's shadow. As they stepped out of the cavern, the mist receded, leaving behind a sense of clarity and purpose. The desert awaited them once more, but now it seemed less daunting, more full of possibilities than ever before. With Zelvar and Silas by his side, Korvax turned towards the horizon, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He felt a new strength within him, one that came not just from armor or weapons, but from the promise of hope and love. Their journey had only begun, and in the heart of this unknown world, Korvax knew he was destined for more than mere survival, was meant for greatness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie twilight over the unexplored continent, Korvax and his companion, Area part dragon, part enigma, found themselves huddled around a sputtering campfire. The flames danced in the cold wind, throwing flickering shadows across their faces. Airy, his skin glowed faintly in the darkness, her scales catching the light in iridescent hues. Korvax had never seen anything like her before. She was both majestic and terrifying, with eyes that seemed to hold entire galaxies within them. Yet, there was a gentleness in her demeanor, an understanding that went beyond words. It was this quiet strength that drew him closer to her, despite the constant danger that surrounded them. "I've been thinking, Ari," he said, breaking the silence as she added another log to the fire. Her voice was calm, but Korvax could sense the tension beneath it. "We need to move through these woods with caution. There are creatures out here that don't take kindly to outsiders." Korvax nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. "What kind of creatures?" "Shapes and shadows," Aria replied enigmatically. "Things that blur the line between nightmare and reality. And then there are the true predator beings that hunt not for sport, but because it is their calling." Her words sent a shiver down his spine. The thought of such beings stalking them was daunting, but it also fueled his determination. He couldn't just survive, he had to thrive. "You think we should split up?" Korvax asked, though part of him hoped they wouldn't. Having Ari by his side gave him an odd sense of safety, despite their precarious situation. Ari shook her head. "No, we're stronger together. Besides, I can sense your fire. You're not one to easily give up." Korvax smiled grimly, appreciating the encouragement. "I won't back down, but we need a plan." "We have one, Ari," said, her tone decisive. "Stay close and trust your instincts. I'll handle what lies in wait." They set off before the first star had a chance to fully emerge from the night sky. The trees closed around them like a dark, living blanket, swallowing their footsteps with each step. The air was thick with an unspoken fear that crept into Korvax's bones, making him acutely aware of every creak and snap. Airy, he led the way, moving with a grace that seemed almost fluid, as if she were born from the shadows themselves. She navigated expertly through the dense undergrowth, her eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. Every now and then, she would pause and listen intently, her ears flicking to catch even the slightest sound. Korvax couldn't help but marvel at her prowess. It was clear that Airy had faced and overcome countless dangers in this world, yet there was a vulnerability about her too, a fragility that he couldn't ignore. "Wait," she whispered suddenly, halting him with a hand on his arm. Her eyes darted towards the forest edge to their left, where faint shapes were barely visible against the darkness. "We need to take this path," she said, pointing to a narrow trail that twisted and turned through the trees. Korvax hesitated, but Airy's conviction was unshakable. He followed her lead, trusting in her knowledge of their surroundings. As they progressed deeper into the woods, the sense of unease grew with each step. The shadows seemed to grow longer and darker, and the silence that enveloped them felt oppressive. Then, without warning, a sound broke the tranquility, a low rumble that sent chills through Korvax's spine. Airy had tensed, her hand reaching for something at her side. Before he could ask what she had spotted, the world around them shattered. From the shadows emerged creatures that defied description, twisted, monstrous beings with limbs like serpentine vines and eyes that glowed like phosphorescent orbs. They moved with a fluid grace, their forms shifting and contorting in ways that were both mesmerizing and terrifying. Korvax's heart pounded in his chest as he reached for the knife at his belt, but Airy held up a hand to stop him. She stepped forward, her voice steady despite the danger. "We need to pass," she said calmly, addressing the creatures. They seemed to regard her with something akin to curiosity, their eyes narrowing as if they were judging her presence. Then, inexplicably, they parted like a living curtain, allowing Airy and Korvax to continue on their path. It was then that Korvax realized the full extent of Airy's power. She had a connection with this world, a deep understanding that went far beyond survival. She knew how to speak to the shadows, to command respect from entities that were dangerous even to consider. There was still more to uncover. As they pressed on through the night, more challenges arose. They encountered traps set by unknown adversaries, puzzles hidden within the trees, and even fleeting glimpses of other travelers who seemed as lost and afraid as they were. At one point, they came upon an ancient ruin partially swallowed by the encroaching forest. The stone was worn smooth by time, covered in symbols that danced across Korvax's vision like a forgotten language. Airy approached cautiously, her hand outstretched as if to touch the wall. "What is this?" he asked softly, his eyes fixed on her back. "This is where the truth lies," she replied without turning. Her fingers brushed against the stone, and suddenly an image flashed before Korvax's eyes, a vision of Airy in a different time, standing before a group of warriors with wings like hers. They were all solemnly watching something that sent chills down his spine. When Airy turned back to him, her expression was solemn. "This place is sacred to my people. It holds the key to our past." Korvax knew then that their journey had taken on a new significance. They weren't just travelers lost in a strange land. They were seekers of truth in a world steeped in mysteries and secrets. And as they continued deeper into this enigmatic realm, The stakes grew higher, but it was the day when they stumbled upon the ruins of what appeared to be an old settlement that Korvax truly felt the weight of their mission. Abandoned houses, ancient machines, and stone carvings covered in dust lay scattered amongst the foliage. It was here that Ari finally spoke of her origins. "The place where I came from was much like this," she said quietly, her gaze distant as if looking at memories through a veil. "A world of light and dark, of beauty and horror. But something shattered it long ago, scattering us across the stars." Korvax felt a deep empathy for Ari. He had been uprooted from his own home in much the same way, left alone on this distant planet with only vague knowledge of what had brought him there. "You're not alone," he said, placing a hand on her shoulder. She looked at him with an expression that spoke volumes: gratitude, hope, and perhaps a flicker of something else he couldn't quite name. Their journey continued with this newfound understanding, each step bringing them closer to the heart of the mystery surrounding their new world. They faced trials and tribulations that pushed their limits in every way, from treacherous climbs over jagged peaks to navigating treacherous waterways teeming with dangers unseen. Yet, through it all, Korvax felt a bond forming between him and Ari. It wasn't just a survival partnership, it was something deeper: companionship forged in the crucible of adversity. But as they prepared for their final push toward the heart of the ruins, an unexpected twist awaited them. Ari's demeanor changed suddenly, her eyes narrowing with intensity. "We must be cautious," she warned. "Something is here." Korvax followed her gaze and saw a figure standing in the distance, its form almost indistinguishable from the shadows themselves. It moved with a silent grace, watching them with an unsettling detachment. "Who is that?" Korvax whispered, drawing his knife again. Ari, his expression turned grave. "An enforcer of sorts. They keep order in this place, but their methods are harsh." He began to move towards them, its presence sending a chill down Korvax's spine. Ari stepped forward, her hand reaching out as if to offer something. The enforcer paused, studying her. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet rumbled ominously, and the air filled with a low hum that seemed to vibrate through their bones. Korvax felt his heart race as an unseen force pressed against them, threatening to pull them under. His eyes blazed with determination. "We can't run," she said firmly, her voice carrying over the growing din. "This is our moment." Then, without warning, everything changed. The enforcer moved, but it wasn't towards them, it was into the heart of the disturbance. As the ground shifted and a portal opened before their eyes, the enforcer disappeared, pulled into some other realm beyond comprehension. Korvax stared in disbelief as Ari stepped forward, her hand hovering over the spot where the enforcer had vanished. "This way," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. As they approached the portal, it seemed to grow larger, beckoning them with a strange allure. The air crackled with energy, and Korvax could feel an unseen force guiding their steps. "What's happening?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's the key, Ari," replied, her eyes fixed on the portal. "This is where the truth lies." With that, they stepped through, leaving behind the mysteries of this world for what lay beyond the veil of shadows and secrets. The passage beyond was dim and formless, its essence elusive yet tangible. A whispering wind seemed to carry secrets inaudible to human ears, while vague outlines of towering structures loomed in the distance. These were not buildings of any kind that existed in their world, but something else, architectural wonders in a realm untainted by mortality's touch. As they walked deeper into this twilight domain. The air grew colder and the shadows darker. Yet there was an underlying warmth, a reassurance that they were on the right path, guided by unseen forces beyond the reach of human comprehension. Every step echoed softly underfoot, as if each sound left ripples in the very fabric of existence. They encountered no living souls or creatures during their journey, only the occasional ethereal presence that vanished before they could make sense of it. The place seemed to exist outside linear time, where moments stretched and compressed in a bizarre interplay of reality and dream. Stars shone overhead with a brilliance unattainable in their world, casting intricate patterns upon the ground. As the night wore on, shapes began to coalesce from the murkiness around them. These were not visions of grand cities or idyllic lands, but rather fragmented memories of places they had known and loved, altered by the passage through this netherworld. A childhood home stood beside a foreign marketplace, an ancient forest intertwined with modern skyscrapers. It was as if their minds were reaching out to grasp at the essence of what had been and could be, forging connections between the tangible and intangible. Hours turned into days within this strange expanse, yet they felt neither hunger nor fatigue, merely a sense of growing clarity about their quest. The air smelled of earth and starlight, mingled with distant fragrances from realms yet unseen. Each breath filled them with renewed purpose, drawing them inexorably toward the heart of the mystery. At last, after traversing countless leagues through this liminal space, they arrived at a crystalline structure unlike anything they had ever encountered. It shimmered like facets of a diamond, reflecting glimpses of their own lives back to them in kaleidoscopic patterns. This was where the veil between worlds thinned most, and beyond it lay answers to their deepest questions. They paused before this radiant crystal, feeling its vibrations resonate within them. There was no key or lock to open it. Instead, they knew that by simply stepping forward with faith and resolve, the barrier would dissolve around them. With a final, concerted breath, they stepped through the glittering portal, leaving behind the enigmatic splendor of the dream world for what awaited in reality. As they emerged on the other side, they found themselves standing within a familiar yet transformed landscape, a place where the line between past and future blurred, and where the mysteries of existence unfolded before their eyes. The air was alive with possibility here, charged with the potential of new discoveries and revelations. They began to explore, each step revealing deeper layers of truth about the world and its workings. The challenges they faced were steep, but now armed with knowledge from beyond the veil, they felt capable of navigating even the most intricate puzzles ahead. As the day wore on, they encountered echoes of their own struggles and triumphs, memories interwoven into the very fabric of this new reality. These recollections provided them strength and insight, guiding their path forward with unwavering clarity. In time, their journey would lead them to confront the ultimate enigmas of existence itself, challenges that tested not just their bodies, but their souls. But for now, they relished every moment of exploration, every break through an understanding, embracing the boundless wonder of a world where the impossible became possible and the extraordinary lay just beyond the reach of everyday comprehension. And so, with hearts full of hope and minds open to all that awaited them, they ventured forth into the unknown, ready to unravel the greatest secrets of their universe. The horizon stretched endlessly before them, a tapestry of twinkling stars and nebulous clouds the night sky pulsating with the promise of hidden wonders. The companions moved in a quiet camaraderie, their shared history and deep trust allowing each member to walk silently into the mystery that lay ahead. The woman with the dragon wings, her thoughts a whirlwind of emotions, kept her distance, but never truly left the group, her senses attuned to every shift in the wind, every crackle of leaves underfoot. It was on this moonlit journey that they encountered their first challenge, a massive, ancient guardian standing sentinel over what appeared to be an entrance into another world. It was a creature unlike any they had seen before, its body covered in scales shimmering with 1,000 hues, and eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of time itself. The air crackled with energy as it turned its gaze toward the travelers, its massive form blocking their way forward. The companions did not falter. With a shared breath and a fierce determination, they approached the guardian, each one contributing their unique abilities towards a non-violent negotiation. There was no need for words. They communicated in a language older than the stars, a dance of gestures and emotions that transcended the mundane confines of speech. The guardian observed them closely, its ancient mind evaluating, weighing the purity of their intentions against the vastness of their ignorance. The woman with the dragon wings felt a deep, visceral connection to this creature. It was like looking into a mirror, seeing the depth and complexity of her own soul reflected back. She reached out, her hand trembling slightly as she placed it gently on the guardian's scaled flank. A shockwave of sensation rippled through her, a wave of ancient memories and raw power that threatened to overwhelm her. She gasped, her eyes wide with the intensity of the experience. But there was also an understanding, a bridge of shared knowledge laid down by the ages. The guardian seemed to sense this. It stepped aside, its path now open for them to pass through. With the guardian's blessing, they crossed over into the other realm, stepping through a shimmering portal that led them to a place of wonders. Here, the air was thick with magic, and the scent of flowers blooming in eternal spring. The companions marveled at the beauty surrounding them, but their journey was not yet complete. They knew that to reach the heart of this new world, they had to climb the mountain of secrets that towered before them. The ascent proved arduous, each step a testament to their resolve and the bond they shared. But as they climbed higher, the landscape transformed, the world below shrinking into a speck as they ascended towards the stars. It was here, high above the clouds, where the woman with the dragon wings felt her vulnerabilities laid bare, her fears, her doubts, her deepest hopes. She looked back at her companions, seeing reflections of herself in their face, strength, courage, and the relentless drive to uncover truths greater than themselves. They reached the peak of the mountain, and there before them was a great door, wrought from glowing runes and celestial metal. As they approached, the door creaked open on its own accord, revealing a chamber beyond filled with pulsating light and intricate patterns that seemed to breathe life itself. In the center stood an ancient artifact, a crystal sphere that radiated a profound energy, one capable of shaping reality at its most fundamental level. The companions gathered around the crystal, each one contributing their unique essence to unlock its secrets. The woman with the dragon wings, feeling the weight of her existence fully settle upon her, stepped forward. As she placed her hand upon the crystal, a surge of power ran through her veins, awakening memories long buried deep within her subconscious. Suddenly, visions erupted from the crystal, flashing through her mind like snapshots of cosmic significance, moments of creation, destruction, birth and rebirth, love and loss across countless eons. She saw herself not just as an individual, but as a part of the grand tapestry that wove together all existence. The weight of this revelation was both crushing and liberating. Her eyes met those of her companions, each one reflecting the depth of their shared journey. They had come this far together, forged bonds unbreakable by time or adversity. In that moment, she knew that no matter what lay ahead, she would face it with the strength found in their unity. As the visions began to fade, she realized something profound about her heart and its capacity for love, not just romantic, but a vast, encompassing affection that saw beyond individual bonds to the interconnectedness of all things. Her gaze fell upon the closest companion, her heart overflowing with tenderness and understanding. She reached out, her hand trembling slightly as it brushed against the other's cheek. A single tear trickled down her face, a testament to the magnitude of emotions she carried within. The warmth from her touch spread like a comforting breath, filling her companion with a profound sense of peace and belonging. They shared a look that spoke volumes of shared experiences, unspoken promises, and the mutual understanding that they were more than just companions, they were family. The crystal hummed softly, its energy now infused with a new kind of light, one born from their collective resolve and the beauty of their shared journey. The woman with the dragon wings took a deep breath, feeling a sense of fulfillment wash over her. Though they had yet to unlock all the secrets hidden within the crystal, they had already found something infinitely more precious: knowledge that love, in its many forms, was the force that bound the universe. And as the companions turned to descend the mountain, leaving the chamber behind, they did so with hearts full of hope and minds open to the endless possibilities that lay ahead. For them, this was not just the end of one journey, but the beginning of another, full of promise and wonder. As they gazed out into the unknown, the horizon seemed to pulse with an energy that was both inviting and slightly daunting. The air was tinged with a scent that none of them could quite place. It was as if the breeze carried whispers from the future, urging them onward. "What do you think lies ahead?" whispered Sarah, her voice barely above a murmur as she turned to face the group. "I feel like there's something significant waiting for us," replied Tom, his eyes never leaving the distant mountains on the horizon. "Something that will change everything." A sense of unity spread through them despite their individual backgrounds and reasons for joining this adventure. They had formed a bond stronger than any they had experienced before. Each member of the group felt a quiet confidence in one another, a mutual trust that fortified their resolve. "We should rest here for a few hours," suggested Laura, who had been observing the sky closely. "The night is falling fast, and we'll need to be well rested if we're to tackle whatever tomorrow brings." As they settled down by a nearby stream, the soft glow of a fire began to dance across their faces. The warmth felt reassuring, providing a brief respite from the uncertainties that lay ahead. Conversations lightened as they shared stories and laughter, the camaraderie weaving its magic once again. In the stillness of night, dreams came easily. Each person's imagination soared beyond the confines of the mundane, painting vivid scenes of what awaited in their journey. For Sarah, it was visions of ancient ruins guarded by mythical creatures. For Tom, a series of grand challenges that tested the limits of their skills and spirit. And for Laura, glimpses of a world where their efforts truly made a difference. As dawn crept over the landscape, they gathered their belongings with renewed vigor. The sun's first rays illuminated a path ahead, guiding them towards new discoveries and trials. Each step forward felt like a fresh start, a continuation of the adventure that had begun so long ago. Their journey led them through a range of terrains, from lush forests brimming with life to arid deserts under an oppressive sun. Each environment brought its own set of challenges, but also revealed unexpected beauty and resilience within the team. They navigated treacherous cliffs, solved puzzles left by ancient civilizations, and faced moral dilemmas that tested their inner strength. Alongside these external obstacles, the group encountered personal challenges that pushed them to their limits. Tensions occasionally arose as they wrestled with differing opinions and fears. Yet, it was in these moments of conflict that they found growth. Through open communication and shared vulnerability, they strengthened bonds and deepened understanding. The landscape shifted dramatically as they ventured deeper into uncharted territories. Mountains gave way to sprawling plains, where the wind carried tales of a forgotten era. Here, they uncovered relics of a civilization long past, their discovery shedding light on a history rich with both triumphs and tragedies. One evening, as they camped near an ancient site, a mysterious figure approached them under the guise of twilight. This enigmatic visitor spoke of prophecies woven into the fabric of reality, hinting at a destiny tied to the group's collective journey. The words left everyone contemplative, sparking debates and introspection about their purpose and connection to this world. As days turned into weeks, the horizon continued to hold a lure, beckoning them towards the next chapter of their adventure. They encountered beings that were neither friend nor foe, learning lessons that transcended language or culture. Each encounter enriched their understanding of the interconnectedness of life and their pivotal role in shaping its narrative. With every challenge overcome and mystery unraveled, the team's bond tightened. A sense of purpose beyond mere survival took root within them, transforming their journey from a mere quest into a profound odyssey of self-discovery and shared destiny. The promise and wonder spoken of at the beginning of this new leg of their journey were now evident in every breath they took, in every step they walked. As night fell once again, stars twinkled above like silent guardians watching over them. They looked to the horizon, where the light was growing stronger with each passing day. Their adventure was far from over, it had only just begun. The future held endless possibilities, and with hearts full of courage and spirits lifted by camaraderie, they were ready to embrace what lay ahead.